Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Design Review Board for the City of Milton. I would like to call this meeting to order. All right, next, I'd like to introduce all the board members that are present. We start off at our left.
I'm Tim Bryan. I have a business in Crabapple.
I'm Marty Littleton. I live on Freemanville Road.
I'm Ed Parsons. I live on Red Road.
Tony Shepard. I live in Nettlebrook Farms.
Okay, can I get someone to make a, oh yes, they left off Pledge of Allegiance again. They have to say a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My wife would appreciate the fact that I am following an agenda review here in front of me instead of just going off and doing what I normally do. Can I get someone to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as listed.
I'll second it.
We actually have one change.
One change.
Okay.
Change the agenda.
We're removing,
Moving City Hall.
4B. I make a motion to approve the agenda sans
So I guess
4B.
Right, you need to make a motion to amend it.
make a motion to amend the agenda to remove the City Hall
Okay.
presentation.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good to go.
And now we get to approve the amended agenda.
Can we have a motion to approve the,
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
And I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we get to go to number 4, which is Hidden Forests. We'll start off with Mr. Jason Hicks. And Jason and company, we are going to stick to the rule of the 10 minutes per side rule tonight.
I'll be fine. I doubt that Jason will take that long. For the record, Mr. Chairman, I'm Doug Dillard with Percy Freeze and Torgerson. I'm an attorney and I represent the applicant here. Jason will go through the review, I think, of two of the projects that are sort of left, and that is lots 42 through 45 and lots 99 through 105. These are for approval of the elevation materials and the lighting. So I'm going to turn it over to Jason at this point. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jason Hips. I want to thank everybody for having us today, having a special meeting. We appreciate that. We have 2 buildings here, as Doug mentioned, 42 to 45 and 99 to 105. The 2 buildings, these are our 2 last buildings in Hidden Forest. It's Flamingo Road and Canary Lane. You'll notice if you want to get started with lot 42 to 45,
Yes, sir.
it's a 4-unit building. This building is in the back left of the community. It's the similar elevations in line with what we've been doing with the other ones out there. We actually on these since last time we've adjusted the brick to meet the brick requirements on the sides, and they're full brick in the rear as well. These are similar elevations to other plans we've done in the community.
Can I just clarify, Mr. Chair, that the applicant, are these on patios in the back or decks?
Yeah, these are all patios.
These are all patios.
Yeah, this is an all slab building, no basements.
Jason, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
On topic, but off a little bit. When you pour these buildings, you do it in the form of a slab and then build up from the slab, right?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay. Would it be a big deal, and I'm not saying for this building, but in the future, just getting a comment, would you be considerate of a monolithic pour to raise the side walls of the foundation instead of just a slab? This is the last one? Then it doesn't matter. You understand what I'm asking?
Are you talking about with turned down footings? Or is
Yeah,
that what you
turned
mean?
down footings and turned up.
Elevated slab.
Elevated slab.
We do that a lot. What we do is we of course we shoot our curb grades like anyone does. We make sure we have a minimum of 2 feet, if not more, of fall.
Okay.
Because we don't want any water to sit or any water problems, intrusion issues for the homeowners. So a lot of times we end up having to do that, as a matter of fact. So in a lot of neighborhoods you'll see all the lots are pre-padded. You can see them
Right.
stepping up. If the pre-padded part is not where we want our top of our slab level, then we'll raise it and pour a turn-down footing to hold the slab up to prevent water intrusion and to get proper drainage, like the 610 rule from away from the house.
Okay,
Make sure we abide by that. So sometimes, a lot of that ends up being a site issue. If we have to do that, we do. But this
Okay.
building here shouldn't have to have that.
okay. I just wanted to get your opinion.
Sure. And these are, all this is all one pour. We pour this whole building together at one time.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board referencing building 42 through 45? And this is the group of buildings that has the clapboard siding at the top.
Yes, sir. That's correct. See on the side elevations, it goes, we have our 75%, well, actually over 75%. It goes to the water table, and there's flap siding at the top, and louver vents and brackets in the cornice
Okay,
lines
good deal.
to dress it up.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Bob, do you have any questions as it references this building?
I do not.
Angela? Mark?
The only thing, Jason, is south portion of lot 42. Back here, let's get some additional landscape screening, soften this corner. As you're coming around that road there, as you're coming around the bend of the road, you're just seeing that big flat wall.
Sure,
We'll soften that corner.
Sure.
Additional landscaping.
no problem.
Okay, so that would be a condition to the approval of this building? Okay. Is there a particular verbiage you would like to use, Mark, to the landscaping portion of this?
Not seeing where it's necessary, because I usually capture this.
Why don't we do this? Can we make this on buildings 42 to 45, dependent on showing what your landscape plan will be?
Sure.
To soften up those edges and the approval of Mark Law.
Sure.
Okay, does that work for you, Mark?
Yes, sir, sure does.
Okay, does that work for the board? It's just an invitation window.
So what was what you're saying? The building will be approved. We'll work with Mark, just like on the
On
last
this
one we
building
did.
right here,
Right, this
42,
building
45?
right here, right.
You're approved, once we have public comment,
Sure.
we get to vote on it. But it will be subject to the approval of Mark Law on the landscaping
Okay.
portion.
Sure. No problem.
Is it okay? That way we don't have to be absolutely definitive at this point.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
You want to go into the other building?
I'm gonna do, can I do one building at a time? That way I can get public comment, not to get the buildings confused?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay? Yeah, okay. Take a seat for this one now. Do we have any public comment on buildings 42 through 45? These are buildings 34, 67, 65, 63, and 59 on Flamingo Road.
Flamingo Lane.
Excuse me,
Flamingo Lane.
is it Lane? Yeah, have any questions? Flamingo Lane. It's yes. On the application, it says road. On the plans, it says lane. Okay, come on up.
This is Peacock Way.
I'm Margaret Lee, and I live at 3515 Peacock Road, and I'm a resident in the subdivision. And first, I want to thank those of you on the board for the work that you do. I took your suggestions to heart. I listened to the meeting again, and I want to thank you for the work that you do, because I appreciate you're not paid and that you do this because you care about the city. I have recognized that there's a bit of a problem with the way this is set up, because I don't even know who the applicant is, and I'm having difficulty as just a regular citizen getting the information that I need from staff. I find that city staff faces you and doesn't face the problem to be somewhat of a problem. I didn't even realize that this is Bob, our city architect, for many meetings. I have no idea who this gentleman on the right is.
He's our city arborist.
Okay, so there seems to be a disconnect between the people on city staff, the people who are getting paid by us, the public, in terms of interacting with us. I understand that Staff is not supposed to interact with city council as I'm going through this process, trying to learn how this works. And unfortunately, I'm finding out that as I'm going through this, that staff doesn't want to seem to talk to the public. I wrote Vince Hines earlier today to find out who the applicant of this is. I got a response back telling me I can look at the calendar and click on the agenda and find out. Well, I can't. It doesn't say who the applicant is. And on this particular agenda, it refers to Jason as Jason Hicks. In
Hips.
previous agendas, he's been Jason Hips. So what is the correct spelling of this gentleman's name, and who is he a representative of? So I hope you can appreciate that it's been difficult for me to try to get through this and follow this from the time I moved into my home in March 2013. I went back and looked at the previous design review board meetings, and Jim Jacoby with JEH Homes first came here in December of 2013. I did not receive a letter. I received no notice. I don't know how to get into this system. I called Angela when I saw the houses going up, and she told me there's 2 different systems, and she's not quite sure what's going on. And if I wanted to know, I would just have to keep calling back. Well, I regret to say that there does seem to be 2 different systems. One system for uneducated citizens such as myself, and another system for developers that come in with connections. I personally...
The developers don't, I mean, I'm a developer. I was
Okay.
a developer. I will tell you that we don't have any special connection to anything,
Well-
other than we understand we have to go through the process of learning the rules for each municipality, and each municipality is a little bit different. Unfortunately, this is not the venue to vet that conversation.
Okay, well,
So-
that's
I wanna
I'm
limit
trying to
our
learn
conversation
as
to the
best
building.
I can. So now that I understand that we're in the State Route 9 overlay, which seemed to be some confusion, we have the first section of it, which says purpose and intent. And and I don't know whose job it is to enforce that the purpose intent of the whole State 9 route overlay is upheld. But
I
at
would
the
think
very
that that was-
bottom, it says to prevent functional visual disunity, promote desirable conditions for community and commerce, and to protect property against blight and depreciation. Well, I'm just going to say that their substandard homes with their vinyl windows and their pressure wooded treated decks certainly are blight. I believe you would agree with me that these types of finishes, items are undesirable, and their presence in my neighborhood certainly depreciates my property. And I don't think that quality is a matter of taste. The design is one issue. What the design is comprised of, how it's built, is another issue. So,
The way that the buildings are regulated currently, the way that we have to look at it, we do not differentiate that they can't have wooden decks. So we haven't told them they can't have that. It's an approved structure.
Okay.
And so until we can get council or a change in the ordinance that allows for these to be built, that would be the change. And so
Okay.
it's not something we can change here today.
right,
It
you
is
as
allowed
the
to do.
design reward view.
So let's
okay.
try to get back to this particular building.
Right.
So I
Well,
can,
when it leaves here and you say it's approved, where does it go next? I can't get anybody to tell me.
well,
how-
most likely when we get it approved, they're going to pull their permit and they'll build their building and
So what does Vince Hines have to do with this? Because I keep being told that I will have an opportunity to review their plans, but after you approve them, Vince Hines, if he's being truthful with me, says that those plans haven't crossed his desk. So I'm having a very hard time understanding how this all works, what B follows A, how this
Angela
goes.
would probably have to answer this, and I will give you my best shot. My best shot is that Mr. Hines is the one that looks through what we've already approved, and everything's done to make sure that we have done the things we're supposed to do before it goes to the final stage of allowing for Mr. Hips or JEH Homes to go ahead and get their permit to build.
And do you
Is that
know
right,
who the
Angela?
applicant is? Who are they?
Margaret, I don't know who they are any much more than you do, than I know who you are. I know your name. I know Jason's name.
But I'm
I
not
know what his
applying for
attorney's name
anything.
is.
It seems to me that somebody should know who they are, because who they are is a big part of what's going on in my neighborhood.
If they are bonded, insured, they've got their GC license, and they've complied with all the city ordinances, there's nothing that we can do as
Well,
this board.
I'm not-
In all honesty, it doesn't matter who they are as long as what they're submitting to us is following the code. That's what we look at. We don't look at who they are or anything like that.
Well, I'm not sure that they do have a bond, and this only came up in my conversations with Sergeant Mulvey regarding trash to make sure that they had a bond. And when my neighbors and I tried to verify that, we were told they don't have a bond. So who they are is kind of important, since we as a neighborhood are struggling through this process as best we can. So, and
Margaret, the only thing I can tell you to do, honestly, is you're going to sit down with whoever your representative city council member is. You'll have to go over and address your concerns with them to see if they can help you get some answers. The problem here is we cannot solve the problem. We
Right,
can only
I-
talk about this
Right,
building
right.
and the building
And
at
I'm-
hand. I broke the buildings
Right,
up.
Right,
So,
and that's helpful to me.
so we broke the buildings up so you can see what the changes are for the building. We as a board and we as a city, we do our best to try to make sure that we got everything right, but we're human beings and we make mistakes, which include city staff. You know, the fact of the matter is, when you called up about the clapboard siding, that was my fault. It was my fault because I'm the one that decided that I don't particularly like all brick. I like it to be broken up personally.
Well, I
You know?
appreciate
And so-
everything you're saying,
So
and,
what this building right here, is there anything about this building?
well, I don't like vinyl windows. I think that the finishes, what they're using is
Do
depreciating
the vinyl
my
windows,
property.
Bob, violate any of the ordinances we have in hand at this point in time?
Not in the Highway 9 overlay.
Not in the Highway 9 overlay. The only way we could prohibit them from putting vinyl windows in this house is if, in fact, that overlay district says they can't have them.
If
and-
the, okay, so this general, and I understand this may be beyond what you're able to do, but this general purpose and intent, because I know it's your personal opinion that vinyl windows are substandard quality. And I know.
What I said was, when I talked about vinyl
Right.
windows, is I personally don't like vinyl windows.
Right.
You know, however, let's face the facts. Wood windows, when you put them in, even though I like them better when they're taken care of. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people that have townhouses don't take care of those windows and those decks in the way they should. And so
Right.
now you're trying to ask us to regulate against some future
Well,
non-maintenance items that are done. And the reality is you would have an argument with some that would say, the people in the vinyl window industry would say, you don't have to paint our windows and they're going to last 25 years. You won't have any problems with these windows for 25 years. It's the same glass that goes in a wood window as a vinyl window. You can buy, there are so many grades of wood windows that you can take a window and spend $900 on one window, and you can come back over here and go buy another window that looks almost exactly the same, and that window's $200. The
I
difference in the way those
understand
windows
that,
are done.
but
And
the-
so we can't get into, we
Right.
just can't get into that.
Right. Well, I would just say that general public aesthetics, or just ask someone on the street, they're going to have a negative view of vinyl windows, whether or not that view is warranted. So
The truth is, I appreciate your idea about vinyl windows. My wife would disagree with you because I do not paint my windows as often as I should. So the reality is there's some benefits. There's pluses and minuses to both of it. And there's an argument on both sides. And since the ordinance doesn't prohibit them from having vinyl windows, that is a moot point as it relates to this building.
that it's helping me to go forward with where I need to go
Okay,
to
well-
know what you can and what you
I
can't
can't,
do
if it's
for
not
me.
in the ordinance,
Okay,
I can't tell them they can't do
that.
it.
Do you know anything about the appeals process that says within 30 days of your final decision that I can review this, because it says any aggrieved person by a final decision of the design review board may appeal it by going to, do you know anything about your decisions being appealed? Can you give me any direction there?
That would be something I'd have to refer to the city attorney because I've never gone through the process.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I can answer that.
Okay.
The public is available to see any of the DRB submittals, any of the building permit submittals at any time, so they can come in and see that at any time. The appeals process is for an applicant if the design review board decides not to grant a certificate of endorsement, it's not per se for the public, it's for the applicant.
Well, it says any person aggrieved by a final decision. So is there a definition of any person? I'm just reading this as a common sense person. So it sounds like from these words that any person aggrieved, and I would say I'm aggrieved.
Well,
So,
ma'am, we're not attorneys. so
right,
we can't
I
answer
understand that. But
Margaret,
this is
you
the
still got to,
difficulty.
you still got to take this up
Right.
on a different level. Let's try our best to stick
Right.
to
Okay,
the
so-
buildings. And so
Okay.
I understand your thing about the vinyl windows. I get it. There's arguments both directions. It's an unwinnable argument for either side, in my opinion. Don't use those windows, but it is what it is.
Okay.
So we can't do anything about that. So other than vinyl windows, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes to determine
Okay.
what's wrong, what you don't like about buildings 42 through 45.
Well, I haven't seen the buildings, so I can't say specifically what I don't like about them, other than the
Well,
fact.
I will tell you the buildings are like this. These are
Two-story?
patios. They're patios, 2 stories. They got patios that are not raised, elevated.
Okay.
They have clapboard in the gables, which I like.
No, that's not drawing it. Or, yeah, there's a little. Is that
With
it?
garages
No,
in the front,
similar.
okay.
Yeah. Garages in the front. And those are the big things that I've looked at for this building.
Okay, so Angela's telling me that this that you're looking at, I can come to City Hall prior to any meeting and see what it is that you are looking at?
Generally, the applicant brings those items with them, and so
Well, no,
at the
I
time.
have them,
Oh, you do?
you know, a week to a few days before the meeting.
Okay. Then,
The applicant may bring additional items to the meeting, but I have what you see.
Okay, it's just hard to know anything if you don't know anything, and if the procedures aren't set out, who these people are and what they're bringing, and how I can see it in advance of being here and bothering you with all of these logistical questions, it doesn't really give anybody a meaningful opportunity to contribute.
You're
Margaret,
welcome to
within the-
call or email or stop by at any time.
I've called and emailed, and I've included our city architect on many emails, and I don't get responses. That's part of the problem. That's why I'm here
Margaret, I still got to
addressing
go
you.
back to the thing at hand. The
I
thing
will,
at hand
I
is
will.
42 and 45.
I understand that,
So-
and now that I understand that this is what I'm supposed to do and what I've tried, I'm going to, as you said, take my issues with this to my 2 elected council people. Thank you for that advice, because I'm going to follow it, as I have taken all of your suggestions to heart as I'm trying to move forward. Thank you for your service.
Okay, do we have any other public comment about buildings 42 through 45?
In rebuttal and in an effort to try to keep the focus of what you really are empowered to do here tonight, I just want to briefly respond to her objections. The procedure set for you is not relative to you. That's not your call. The city council has set that. And you're to abide by the rules and regulations that are set for them. So it's really outside of your discretion to make any change in the procedure. The procedure is what it is. It's open and it's available to anybody that wants to come find out. And this is not the right forum to make that complaint. Homeowner association issues are not your problem. Homeowner association issues should be dealt with the declarant or whoever has those, and that's not really what we're here tonight to talk about. We talked about design and whether or not we comply with the code and with your requirements. Your discretion in that regard is pretty limited. The overlay ordinance is not in your case. Overlay ordinance is a zoning ordinance. It's not in your discretion either. And this is not about taste. Your discretion is limited to what your code requires. So it's not about whether you like vinyl or wood or whatever. You know, if it satisfies the code requirements, then that's what you've got to do. This applicant, I'm going to tell you, is qualified to build houses in the city of Milton, and I think the applicant and the name of the builder and all that kind of stuff is readily available to any citizen of the city of Milton that wants to come down to City Hall and find out about it. The other side of it, to be an aggrieved party, as she pointed out, to be an aggrieved party on the law of Georgia, you've got to show that you suffer special damages that's not suffered by the neighborhood as a whole. In other words, you've got to have an individual party that can come forward and say, I have standing because I'm an aggrieved party. I'm suffering damages that suffer peculiar to me, not to the whole community, not to the whole homeowner association or anything else. So in order to have an aggrieved status to make an appeal from any decision that you make, that individual can't just be a citizen going up there fussing about it because they don't like the way it looks. They've got to show under Georgia law how and in what manner they're a aggrieved party, and they got to show that they have special damages that's not suffered by anybody in the whole. Relative to these buildings, these plans have been filed, I think Angela said, for over a week. They've been readily available. Just come down and look at them. So we would ask that you approve this, and we appreciate your indulgence tonight.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Ms. Young, would y'all? Okay. All right. Bob, do you have any comment? No. Angela?
No, sir.
Mark? Okay. So I'll make the motion. Do you have more comment?
Oh, no, I don't know if it's coming up or not.
We're just going to vote on this building.
I've got a general question. The project, are all the addresses listed as Flamingo Road because there's a common mailbox?
No, this doesn't have this is individual mailboxes.
Okay, because this says Flamingo Road, but if you look at the plat, it looks like it's on Canary.
It's got Flamingo Road on the application, Lane on,
Flamingo, this part of it. Canary looks like here. That's
Yeah.
Canary. Here's Flamingo.
Yeah, or I'm sorry, Canary or Peacock Way, rather.
At the very back.
Is this, are these not the lots right here? 42 through 45?
Yes, those are, yeah, the one you're, hold up again, I'm sorry. Yes, let me.
Yeah, there's Canary.
is that Canary?
42 through 45,
Yes,
right?
tell that
These
Is that
right here.
Peacock Way?
Yeah, they're on Flamingo. These four are on Flamingo.
Is it road or
But
Lane?
then this
I
one
don't know
says
if it's Lane or
Flamingo.
Road.
It's Flamingo. See, that's
So,
that's,
Aaron-
our, that's our sales collateral. It's probably labeled wrong. That's what it is. That's
Okay,
yeah.
so everything is Flamingo.
Flamingo Lane or Road?
It says road.
It is Flamingo Road? Because the plans show Lane versus,
It's Lane.
it's Lane?
It's Lane.
Okay. So,
Sorry, sometimes our sales collateral, that's old sales collateral, so it may be labeled wrong. I apologize.
So do we need to amend the agenda to correct his name and the new buildings on Flamingo Lane and Flamingo Road?
the applicant still is JEH Homes, and it's Flamingo Road, so there's not any
No, it's
changes.
Flamingo Lane. That's what he's saying.
Oh, it is?
It's Flamingo Lane, correct?
Lane, right, Chris? Yes, it's Lane.
I just don't want there to be any question going forward.
Sure.
You can do it in your motion.
Okay.
And my last name is Hips, not Hicks. That must be a typo on that. But it's Hips with two P's.
Okay, all right. Okay. I would like to make a motion for the Hidden Forest Building 42 through 45. Be approved, subject to the applicant bringing back to Mark Law, the city arborist, the plan to soften the corner, the landscape plan for the, be unit 42. Anybody like to second that motion?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're good to go on 42 through 45.
Thank you.
Okay. Got two. There you go. The next one is calling up is Hidden Forest Buildings 99 through 105. Flamingo Road.
Lane.
Again, Lane.
No, this is Flamingo Road.
Oh, it is?
That is road, right? I think these, let's go look at the map.
Did I include in my motion the lane, the correction there? Okay. So this is the one.
No, we can maybe read it, maybe Flamingo. No, it is Flamingo Lane.
The developer should be able to tell us that. When the documents that are in front of us should properly reflect it.
So I corrected the last one for lane, so this will be lane as well.
Yeah.
Something's on there. So these are the ones we're looking at right here. That's Flamingo Road.
Look right
That's not correct. This is Flamingo Lane.
See, this says Flamingo Road, this says the Flamingo Lane.
Right.
There's,
So clearly, so we define what we're talking about road. This is Flamingo Lane or Flamingo Road for, we're looking at the map.
With the main, 105 is? There's a different road than 445.
The problem is the application says one thing, the plans,
and the survey
Say
says
something else.
two different things.
I just want to be able to identify exactly what the road is or what it's named.
Is there a road and lane? in the
Shows
same
Flamingo
neighborhood?
Lane
I
on
don't
this one,
think so.
Jason. That one says Flamingo Lane.
Okay, well, that's, we go by the HIP,
Right,
then
but
that would
the
be correct.
addresses say Flamingo Road.
On the plans?
Yeah.
Right down here it says Flamingo Road. The map says Flamingo Lane. This stuff right here says Flamingo Road.
That
So would
must
it
be an
make
error.
more
I
sense for us
apologize.
just to refer to them by the lot numbers of Hidden Forest rather than the street address?
I think that referring to them as the buildings 99 through 105 individually is probably the best way to do it. And
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know that we need to correct.
According to the GIS, it's Flamingo Road.
Okay. Mr. Young, do you know if it's lane or road?
99 through 105 is Flamingo Road.
Okay.
That's
So we got both sides,
42 through
42 through
45.
45.
Flamingo Lane.
Okay, well, then we got it right now.
Okay.
Okay, that's all we wanted.
Sorry
to know.
about that. Here you go.
Bob, on this particular group of buildings, did you have anything you wanted specifically to add?
No, I do not.
Okay. Mark, do you have anything you would like to add? Okay. Anything from the board? I've got to look and see which building it is. What number is the end building?
99 is one and 105. 105
When
is
it-
next to the dog park.
Right, whenever you pull in the neighborhood, 105 is the first one you see.
Okay,
So if you're looking at it from the road, it's the far right side.
all right. And these are the ones that have the decks that are at 9 feet above grade level?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, publicly, what I would like to say is that underneath the decks, trying to cover up the underneath portion of the decks that can be visible. I don't know what the public would think, so we'll ask their opinion, but the opinion that I would give you is the possibility you did heighten the roof
Right.
on it.
We did.
So if we went clapboard like the other building up at the top, we could use the brick down at the bottom, that might be a choice. Or if we do a reverse panel, solid screen deck, and it's high-quality fencing that goes up underneath it, has 6x6s at the end, so it looks like it's decorative, that covers that underneath, and then have the same thing as the upper level, so that you could not see through that on the ends, and we could soften up the landscaping a little bit on that end to keep from the visual impact as much as possible.
Sure,
Would
we can do
you-
that. If we can do personally, I would like, if we could, I'd like the deck option.
Okay.
To make it out of the same material as the deck so it matches, but yeah, that'd be fine, we could do that. To cover up so you don't see it underneath it when you pull
And
in.
stain them the same color as the decks,
Right,
okay?
that'd be fine.
What color was it we picked last time? Was it a cedar?
Chocolate brown.
It was a
Bare
chocolate.
chocolate, yes.
brown.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you want to say or council might want to say at this point about these buildings? Okay. Well, let the public come up and,
Okay.
you can come on up, Mr. Young. Know you by name now. Now, Mr. Young, we looked at the buildings and we thought about the last request that was made about the decks on the back.
Yes.
And so what I've tried to do is to get something the builder could live with and something that would help the community as a whole. So hopefully you'll find the choices that we were given. One of the reasons he doesn't want to probably change his brick in the gable is because of the way it's laid out now, and the change would be so significant for him. And that if we did this way, we could spend our money wisely on landscape softening and the solid fencing. And I'm not looking, fence is the wrong word, but I'm looking for when I built townhouses, which I built few, I didn't like townhouses a whole lot personally to build them. But we put up these solid fences that were solid slats, and we made them look almost like cabinetry type of look, so they had lots of reveal to them. So they had three-dimensional viewpoint to them, and so it did make it look like somebody just put up a couple 2x4s, nailed some slats in it, and that was the end of it. What the fencing that I've discussed is, it's basically 1x6 capped with a 2x4 at the top, and then you have the slats in between. So it'd be a slatted wall, and the water would drain through the wall. So that would leave less opportunity for it to warp, and it would be a nice view, and it would give a three-dimensional look. It would be relatively inexpensive for the builder to add that into the building. And if you put a little bit of that and a little bit of in landscaping, and let Mark help him with softening that viewpoint going down and looking through the body of the building, then I'm hoping that that would be sufficient.
Sounds good. My name's Gary Young. I live at 13325 Flamingo Road, and we're lot 99. And thank you for the update on the decks. And Jason and I talked before the meeting, and he gave me some information. One of my concerns is, well, not a concern, but we have to be careful when we do when the grading is done for the building on lot 99, that is not higher than lot 98, because we have a low area in between there, and you've probably seen back for our townhomes there. And there's a swell that goes down through there, and we get a little water down there, and it drains out to the wetlands, but we can't have any more water.
Okay.
Shed on us, okay?
I understand.
From lot 99 or the other lots. So
Okay.
we need to make sure that does not happen.
Do you mind if I ask Jason a question while
Sure.
you're up there? Jason, can you address Mr. Young's problem with the water runoff?
Yes, matter of fact, if you look at the HLP, it shows our drainage, I'll up forward, it shows our drainage, is going to go straight off the back, so it won't come in towards you, it'll go directly off the back, that's how it's drawn here.
What about the water that comes out to the street from this house, is that gonna come towards our problem area that we want?
You might have to go to the road, because you know where to get to the back.
That's where that problem is, right here. That's where all the flooding is really coming from.
This road, these are down for the fire neighborhood, so that should be.
Well, the first four townhomes are gonna come toward us. Yeah. It's graded that way.
We're gonna have to do this.
We're gonna have more water.
But now, but there's no way to get that townhome to the back. The back roof and the back, the decks and all that land will go out the back. But the fronts, the first few will have to go to the street, but the rest of them will fall down towards the dog park. We could do that, we could pipe it. We could pipe the downspouts around Marty.
Okay.
We definitely don't want to get water on you, so we want to make sure it's away from you at all times. We understand how it's already.
Yeah, that parking area right now floods.
Right.
We can't stop the groundwater that hits the front of the building.
Right.
Right.
But we can stop the gutters, which can be
That-
Rerouted.
a great amount of water. We can
Because
make
there's
those
7
around the sides.
buildings,
Okay.
and all those buildings drain to our parking area. So that would be great if there's some way you could pipe that around.
We have no problem doing it.
You can do that?
There's no problem at all.
That'd be great.
We'll figure out a way to get, like I said, stuff on the back, we'll put it on the back anyway.
Yeah.
So just the front, especially, we'll make sure that we pipe it.
Okay.
We definitely want to keep it off you, we don't want to make it worse.
Okay, in order for us to be able to make a motion, we got to get better specific about exactly what you're talking about.
We can do an HLP with the detail for piping the downspouts to the rear,
Okay.
to the side of the lot, so they can get the swale.
So we can make this subject to bringing back the drawing for the piping for the downspouts to come back to the city staff. Would it be appropriate person, Bob?
It will go through building department review, but I'll make sure I look at it before it does.
Okay,
So we can submit that, when we submit our permit, and I'll have the accurate one,
right.
have it at the same time, that work?
I think that's correct, isn't it, Bob?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Young, that would address it. That means that somebody from staff level will be in the building department. And also, Bob said he would take a look at it too, to try to ensure as much as we can humanly do that this is all routed away from you.
Yep, that'd be great. And we still have issue with the roads, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today.
Okay,
They're better, okay?
okay, well, we can keep working towards making it better.
Right. The other thing, I think you already addressed the, the upper decks, 9-foot decks, that there will be a privacy wall there.
Mhm.
Because that end unit, lot number 9, as I look at, when we sit in our living room, we'll be looking at that deck. Also,
We see, will your view be a side view or a straight on
Side
view?
view.
Side view?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm really asking this builder to do is to have the 2 panels for the upper deck and below it on the
Okay.
end. Is that what we understand? Okay.
Yep.
So that means that you won't see down that line. You will see a wood fence that will be the color that we designated from the last meeting. You got a question, Bob?
So, yeah, I just want to make sure I get it right. Right now, he's showing a privacy fence on like the left side facing the rear of each deck. The board is saying that they want privacy fence on both sides of each deck?
No.
All the way
On the
down?
end unit only, which is 99
105.
So on both ends,
on both ends.
you'll have privacy walls on both outer edges of the deck,
Yes,
upper and lower,
upper and lower,
just on the 2 ends.
or just on the 2 ends.
Okay, got it?
That way you'll see it when you drive in, and he won't, we'll see it from his side.
Okay, just want to make sure I get it right.
Okay.
And units.
The 2 end units.
How much space is between that last one and the dump house? How much
Pretty good space.
yeah.
It's a good.
work area where you can unload lumber and stuff? Because right now, there any place left to unload your lumber.
I'm not, I'm sure there's not a stage on it, actually. I would think so, without measuring it, I don't know.
State for some of it. Well, that'll have to be a built and done in tiers. You won't deliver all the material at once. First floor, and second floor, and third floor is good.
So we're basically looking at roughly, what, 13 buildings to finish? 13, 14? How long would it take you to finish those buildings, to get them where they're dried in?
Dried in,
Yeah, just where they're dried in, where you don't have big lumber packages.
from the time we start framing, 45 days with it being a 3-story, it could take a little longer. So
With weather.
5 days is probably fair.
Okay.
Weather depending.
Right. Okay. So we have at least a limited amount of time that this will be an inconvenience. And the thing that we can ask from the builder is to be as conscious as he can. And certainly, you obviously have a good rapport to talk to Jason and the on-site folks. That if there's a problem that's come along, go talk to the on-site folks and see what you can do to, because they got to be members of your neighborhood too till they sell the buildings. They own them.
Right. Well, that's all I have. I was concerned about grading the privacy fence, because on that side is our living room, and our bedroom is right up next,
No, I understand.
second floor, so.
Margaret, are you okay with the sides?
I'm going to trust that the landscaping, when you first come in, is important. That's going to be your first impression when you come in the neighborhood. So softening with the landscaping and making it kind of look like a hidden forest would be greatly appreciated.
Well, that's what we're going to try to do. So that's what,
Are 3 stories, did I hear that?
yes,
We're going from 2 back up to 3 stories now?
yes.
And I need to make sure the youngs, because they're in a 2-story, so they're going to.
The truth is, there's nothing that we, as this board, can do to change that.
How much can landscaping do? I'm impressed with landscaping that I see, so I'm looking for some,
Give it,
accentuate the positive and minimize the negative here with planting.
quite honestly, I've not met many people that are better than Mark Law. If Mark decides he likes it and this is the way it's going to age and look good, then I would trust what he has to say. So the way that we will make the motion for this is subject to the landscape plan for softening these decks be given to Mark Law, and that the water runoff issue with the gutters would be a plan that is delivered to the city, to Bob, and have Bob review it and approve it. Is everybody okay with that? How about the board? Okay, you want to make the motion?
Go ahead, you got a long one to go through
I'm gonna make this motion the best way that I can. So, I'm gonna make my motion to approve Hidden Forest Buildings 99 through 105. I think we have in fact determined it as Flamingo Road. Those buildings are subject to Mark Law's review of a softening of the landscape plan on the end units, which would be 99 and 105. It is subject to panels being built, and I would ask that you bring them to Bob for approval so he can see the panels. He knows what I want. So I've got the panels, I've got the water. Did we mention the water runoff? So bring it back to Bob when you bring the panels. Run back, Bob, the plan that you have for the water runoff from the gutters, and I'm assuming you're moving that to the dog part and to the road, right? Okay.
Were you leaving the gables?
We're leaving the gables as they are, so as drawn. So
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure you're not going to flood the dog park with water, right? Because that would be destroying
No.
amenities, so.
No.
There is the swamp, the wetlands back there, so.
they're going to do everything they can to get the water back there.
Okay.
Okay? They're going to bring back their plan to the city architect. The city architect will use his best ability and judgment, which is good, to minimize the water as much as possible.
Okay.
So I need to start over. I'd make a motion to approve Hidden Forest Buildings 99 through 105. Building 99 and 105, both to meet with Mark Law, the city arborist, for softening the deck portions. Those two buildings to have 2 walls built that cannot be seen through, that will be in a picture frame design, to the city architect to approve, and for the city architect to approve the drainage of the gutters on these buildings, 99 through 105. Need a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have any old business? Do we have any new business? I have some new business. My new business is I would like to go through whatever procedure we have to have for the design review board to schedule a dinner that would be with the city officials that we work with every day and the board itself one evening. And so however we do that, did anybody else like to do that?
Sure.
Would you like to do that, Bob?
Sure.
Angela, Mark?
Do you have a particular date in mind?
Our next design review board is on whatever day, the first Tuesday of November. What I would like to do is try to schedule it the week after that. Is anybody traveling in the first week after that meeting? And if y'all would like to do it prior to that meeting, I'm good with that. I don't know what notice we have to give the public.
Did you say the first or second Tuesday?
The first Tuesday is when we have our meeting,
Which is the third?
so I am really flexible.
So you want to schedule something for the second Tuesday?
No, that's going to be our city. That'll be our meeting. The first Tuesday our meeting. Second one, whatever day we want to pick out, we can send out an email to
See if we can get everybody.
see if we can get a census from the board members as to what days would be good for them.
The second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
There you
That's
go.
what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
That would be it.
What
I would
time?
add that to the agenda.
What time?
I would say let's do it around 6:30, so therefore it wouldn't be
Yeah.
real onerous on anyone to try to get there.
Okay.
We know I'm not on time usually. Yes.
What place?
It would be the second,
What location?
I would like to recommend La Casa Restaurant in Alpharetta.
Okay.
Have y'all?
Where's
eaten
that
there?
one?
It's on.
Italian one.
It's Italian.
Oh,
It's-
yeah, oh.
It is
across-
awesome.
across from,
Awesome.
Pure.
sir.
That's
Yeah.
what we
Oh,
did
wait,
last
it's
time.
across, it's across the street from my restaurant.
There you
Hey,
go.
let's go to Maid.
All right. Well, either place. I don't really care where we go, as long as everybody's happy. The purpose in the meeting will be just for everybody to get to know we have some new board members and just try to get everybody on the same page.
You guys averse to Maid? Have you eaten at Maid Kitchen or the tapas bar? It's across the street from
What kind of food they serve?
it's a tapas menu, Spanish tapas.
Little stuff.
Do they have good big table areas in
Oh
there?
yeah. Yeah, they got whole community tables. We could get the whole patio if we wanted it.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I'm good with that. I don't care where we go.
Whatever you all want.
Well, Ed said he's buying, so.
Yeah.
Whatever you all want. I'm good. Hey, Debbie.
So we good?
Yeah.
I'll add that to the agenda and send out an email.
I can't read down my little agenda list. Is anything else left I have to do?
What about these? Should we just take these home with us to?
Still there for the evening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We want to, we had, some minor comments that we still wanted to incorporate.
Okay.
And we really want to make sure that when we bring it to the board, that it's just the way it should be. And
Okay.
it really looks nice and polished, and another 2 weeks, we'll be able to get that. So, we're close, but I really wanted to make sure we had addressed all the comments, and I did get some minor comments back, so I want to make sure I get all those incorporated.
Are we going to have another special call meeting for this? Or
No.
we're
That'll
just,
be a
we'll just do it in
regularly
November?
called- That'll be the November meeting, regularly called.
Okay.
Okay. Then I guess I can call this meeting adjourned.